How you doing, YouTube? It's been a while since I've put anything up, and that's because the friend I used to do this with has moved to Poland, and then I moved around Australia a bit, and I've only just gotten time to try and get back to this. I have no video editing skills, so I'm going to be working this out as I go, and I've gotten a new project car, so I figured it's time to try and kick it off again anyway. So this is my 2007 Maserati Gransport, and there's a lot of things wrong with it, and there's a few things right with it, and I'll do a video on that later. But right now I'm fixing one of the things that's wrong with it, which is the exhaust. These cars have a famously boring exhaust, considering that they share the engine with the first version of the Quattroporte and the Gran Turismo, which are probably one of the nicest sounding cars out of the box. This isn't, and it's got the same engine, it's just boring. So I'm taking the first step to remedying that today, and I'm changing out the mufflers with a set of Larini mufflers. So let's have a look at those. So what I've got here is the factory muffler, which has a bimodal valve, and a Larini muffler, which also has a bimodal valve. At first glance, there's not a lot different between these, but people swear by these Larini mufflers. And in terms of volume, there's probably not much change now that I've got one on the car and had a chance to test it. But they do have a very different tone, and if I tap on them, you can tell there's a bit different going on inside there. It's not a lot, but it definitely sounds a bit more rumbly and sort of gurgly with the Larini muffler. So I'll take you around back and I'll leave it in idle, and I'll show you the difference. So you can see that I've supported the jack on the jacking point and using a jack stand on one of the bolt holes through the subframe. So that will help me see what's going on, as this wheel liner needs to come out to access everything. It's held in through a number of 8mm hex nuts and is very easy to get out. What you can see going on in the back there is we've got our connection for our muffler, and we just need to get this out so that we have enough room to pull the muffler out. There's also two bolts sitting up in here which hold the muffler, and there's another two bolts which we can access through the rear of the car, which I'll show you when we get to it. No point doing things the hard way. So with that out of the way, it's a bit easier to see what's going on. We've got two bolts here, which we have to undo, as well as the one that I pointed out before, holding the exhaust pipe in. And there's two bolts around the other side. So, time to get to it. So the two bolts around the side are 13mm. Bloody hell. A couple of years of rust. So this is the most interesting part of it. Because of the unusual position of these bolts out here, you would think that you'd need to take off the rear bumper, or as a minimum take off part of the rear bumper, but you don't. You can actually reach these bolts through the back of the car. So there's one that we can see here, and there's another. You can just make it out behind the valve, but we can definitely reach them through here. So use all the extensions you've got. And this is the rather ridiculous looking tool I needed to reach it. Now this one's a bit more of a trick, since the nut, the fitting I need for the nut won't fit through, but my tool will. So you gotta squeeze your hand through and plug it in on that side. So installation is the reverse of removal. You just got to be a bit careful and awkward with the tips to get it through, and don't forget to plug in your valve control. I had a problem on the other side with this particular fitting being quite gunked up. So while I've got everything out of the way, I'm going to clean it out with a tap, and it's an M5 screw by I think 0.08, just a standard M5. And I noticed that this one was tight coming out compared to all the others, so I think just being able to get a tap through that will make a big difference. On getting it clear. I don't recommend using vice grips if you're ever in this situation, but there isn't quite enough room to get the proper tap tool through. So if you're confident that you're going in straight, then the master of invention is necessity. You can actually see there's quite a bit of rust and dirt that came off that.